Hello everyone and welcome back. You know the story that when you just come into the store while saying I will only buy one thing like apples, and then when you are at the counter you see your cart. It's full. How did it become full when you just came to the store for apples? There is something running in our brain, right? No, I will explain. If a product is more obvious available, you will more likely to buy it even if you don't need it. This means that the environment is the invisible hand that shapes human behavior. Despite our unique personalities, certain behaviors tend to arise again and again under certain environmental conditions. That's why customers will occasionally buy products not because they want them but because of how they are presented to them. Scientifically, 10 million receptors of those are dedicated to sight. Some experts estimate that half of the brain resources are used on vision, given that we are more dependent on vision than on any other sense. For this reason, a small change in what you see can lead to a big shift in what you do. As a result, you can imagine how important it is to work in environments that are filled with productive cues and devoid of unproductive ones. Let's use all of these into habits. When the cues that spark a habit are subtle or hidden, they are easy to ignore. For example, if you want to drink more water, fill up a few water bottles each morning and place them in common location around the house. Make sure the best choice is the most obvious one. Be the designer of your world and not merely the consumer of it. To shape your environment, stop thinking about your environment as filled with objects. Start thinking about it as filled with relationship. It is easier to associate a new habit with a new context than to build a new habit in the face of competing cues. That means, when you step outside your normal environment, you leave your behavioral biases behind. You aren't battling old environmental cues, which allows new habits to form without interruption. Whenever possible, avoid mixing the context of one habit with another. When you start mixing habits together, the easier one will usually win out. This is one reason why modern technology is both a strength and a weakness. For example, you can make a chair for reading, a tablet for researching, a phone for playing. If you want behaviors that are stable and predictable, you need an environment that is stable and predictable. A stable environment where everything has a place and a purpose is an environment where habits can easily form. Every habit is initiated by a cue. We are more likely to notice cues that stand out. That's why you should make the cues of good habits obvious in your environment. Gradually, your habits become associated not with a single trigger but with the entire context surrounding the behavior. The context becomes the cue. It is easier to build new habits in a new environment because you are not fighting against old cues.